Hey, what's up everybody, this is Mike. Welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are doing great today. And in today's video, we'll talk about the Autel EVO Lite Plus and my thoughts on this drone after owning it for about 30 days. So as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Autel drones. I've been flying the EVO 2 Pro for a while and I really loved that drone. The Lite Plus is here now and I'm also waiting for the Nano Plus to arrive at some point so I can review that on the channel as well. So I'm really excited about the Lite Plus because I think it's kind of like the best of both worlds. It's small and portable, relatively speaking, but it's also very powerful. So I'm really excited for the future of this drone and its development. So I've decided to split this video into three parts. First, I'm going to mention the positive things and the things I like about the Lite Plus. Then I'll mention the things I've encountered that definitely need some work and need to be fixed as soon as possible. And then finally, I'll address some things that I hope to see as soon as possible in the future firmware update. So starting out first with the things I like about this drone, I definitely need to start with the camera quality. This drone shoots fake 6K, which is really not 6K, it's actually 5.4K, but everywhere you look it will say 6K. But that's really not that important. It shoots 5.4K at 30 frames per second, and I have to say the colors and the quality coming straight out of the SD card of this drone are just great. Huge fan of the image quality, and although it has this sharpness that unfortunately you cannot control from the app itself, you don't have the settings for that, you still get a very usable image straight out of the SD card. I'm a huge fan of tweaking colors, adding some little adjustments to the colors, to the hue and saturation, adding my own LUT and my own little flavor to the footage. But with this drone, I've noticed that I've come to really appreciate the colors and the quality coming straight out of the SD card. So it's a really unusual and strange thing for me to just get the footage straight out of the SD card and just use it as it is. But I noticed that this is something that I tend to do with this drone because I just like how the colors look. And of course, this drone shoots in 8-bit color and it does not have lock color profile. So you're only stuck with the default color profile. You don't have any flat colors. However, I've noticed something weird, and that is that I kind of enjoy that. I've noticed that in all of my drones before, I've always tend to really focus a lot on the colors, really focus on doing something a little bit more creative, putting my own touch to those shots. But here, since I don't have lock color profile, it brings me back to the good old days of owning the Spark, for example, or the DJI Mavic Mini, where you didn't have those things. So you're only focusing on doing the shots, like picking the right perspective or just going to an interesting place instead of just thinking about color grading and tweaking the footage afterwards. So with this drone, I know I might be one of the few people that would say that, but I'm actually enjoying this as it is because I'm using it in a fun way. I'm bringing it with me when I'm going outside the city where I know I might see something interesting that I might want to shoot, and I'm just enjoying the regular flying process. I'm not too focused on settings, and as a matter of fact, since the Pro mode is kind of buried in the settings, normally when you open the Sky application and you select between photo and video, it just shoots in automatic camera settings. If you want to lock your camera settings like your shutter speed, the aperture, the white balance, you need to scroll down a bit to enter Pro mode, which will allow you to do that. But since first you see photo or video, you tend to choose those modes instead. Unless you really want to use manual camera settings, you tend to just choose automatic camera settings for photos and videos. And this is really unusual once again for me, but I just enjoy that. So I find it a little bit weird that since Autel has made it that way, you actually use those modes a little bit more instead of just using manual camera settings. And I'm kind of lazy. I'm just slapping an ND filter from Freewell on the drone and I'm using in automatic camera settings. And like I said, I've been really enjoying the end results. So I think that might be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. Now, next thing I really like about this drone is the flight time. It's roughly 35 minutes and really depends on the weather conditions, how you fly, how fast you fly, what you do with the drone in the air. But for the most part, I would say 30 to 35 minutes is the norm with each battery. Something else which I really like about this drone is the range. Although I haven't really pushed it to 5, 6 or 7 kilometers as it can do, I am still very happy, very pleased with what I'm getting on my phone. The feed on my phone is very smooth and stable. I do not get any stutters, any problems, any freezes. It's still very smooth every single time, and I don't think I've gotten an error saying that I have a bad signal or something. So in all cases that I've flown this drone, it's been a very smooth, great flying performance. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about when we talk about things I love about this drone is the remote controller. It might not be something that many people think about, but it's actually very important because you hold that when you fly. It really depends on this remote, how you will feel while you fly this drone. So this remote controller, in my opinion, is one of the best I've ever tried on any drone, simply because it's super, super comfortable. No Mavic 2 Pro, no Mavic 3, no Air 2S, no other drone has had such an incredibly nice to hold remote controller. It's just really grippy on the sides. It has this really nice material on the sides. It fits perfect in your hands. It stays in your hands like it's glued to them. And it's just very comfortable in your hands. So even for longer periods of time when you fly, you will not get any fatigue in your hands, and it will just feel very comfortable to hold it for a longer periods of time. Now, the only two things I miss on this remote to make it absolutely perfect is a little screen here with some telemetry data and one more dial here on the right side, because you have one on the left and you just have the space for it on the right, but no dial on the right. So it's kind of a missed opportunity from Autel to put one dial here for fixing your aperture, for example, or your shutter speed or any other thing. You can use it as a function button, but we don't have that one, unfortunately, here. As for the problem with the sticks not having their own place on the radio, it's really not a big deal for me. I have them tucked away in one of my pockets on my backpack, which I carry with me everywhere I go, so it's really not a huge problem for me. Yes, it would have been great to have them here on the bottom, for example, but it's really not a deal breaker. The main thing about this radio is just how comfortable it is, and for me that's all that matters, because that's the thing you use when you fly, so it has to be comfortable. I almost forgot, but there's one more thing which I absolutely love about this drone, and that is the extremely fast GPS lock, especially when compared to the Mavic 3, which has this super annoying issue with the very, very slow GPS lock. This thing is just amazing. As soon as you power on the drone and you start connecting your phone to the remote controller, by the time you twist the stick ends to the remote controller, the drone is already done, it's good to go, and you're ready to fly. Which, in this exact scenario, when compared to the Mavic 3 and its big issue, makes this the perfect drone for traveling. So where you want to capture something very quickly, you don't want to miss the shot, this actually beats the Mavic 3 by a long shot. Now, we are getting to the part which is not that great, and unfortunately I have some things that I don't like about this drone. Especially the first thing is when you fly with this drone in a strong wind, it's just terrible. For some reason I've been used to flying drones that have a better capability when it comes to battling the winds, and it's never really been a big problem for me to fly in stronger winds. But a couple of days ago I flew with this drone in, I wouldn't really say very strong winds, but it was almost impossible to fly it. I was going straight, full throttle in sport mode, and the drone was barely moving forward. It was just that bad. I had to improvise a little bit. I had to go around in order to not face the wind directly. I wasn't really sure if I'll be able to make it back, but I did without any problems. It was just a little bit distracting and a little bit limiting sometimes when you have to go in a direction where the wind hits you straight on and you don't have the power to go forward. So that's really something that I didn't like about the Autel EVO Lite Plus. the wind performance, the performance against the wind was yeah, not ideal. Something else which I don't like is the panorama mode. And although the results are great, it takes far too long to take those panorama shots. So in the wide angle panorama, I believe the drone takes 12 photos, and it takes more than 1 minute for the drone to take all of these 12 photos. So the drone has those pre-selected places where it points the camera, so it shoots all the area that you have selected, and then it stitches all of those 12 photos into one. However, it's just a very slow, annoyingly slow process. So I think I prefer to do my panoramas manually, and I'll stitch them myself in post. I think that's the better option, unless you just have a lot of battery life that you're willing to sacrifice for those wide angle shots. I'm not even going to mention the sphere panorama, which takes 3 times longer, and it's just, I took one by mistake and I immediately regretted that. When talking about the camera, I have a big problem with bending, and I'm not sure that's the correct term of this specific problem. However, sometimes when you point the camera towards the sun and it's very bright and sunny outside, you will see some lines on your screen which will actually ruin your shots, because they're not only on your screen, they're also inside the video that you're recording. I have done some tests, and this problem occurs not only in automatic camera settings, it also occurs when you have manual camera settings with locked aperture, with locked shutter speed and white balance, and all those settings are locked into a specific value. It still happens, so it's not a problem of having an ND filter or not, because it happens in both cases. So it's really something that I don't know why it's happening. I will address this towards Autel so they can investigate and let me know what's the problem, because for some shots they have been completely ruined by those lines appearing on my screen, and as soon as I see that, I just stop flying, because I know the shot is just pointless and I need to readjust the angle so I can eliminate this problem from happening to the footage. Now, Autel has already released one firmware update for the Lite Plus since it came out. Unfortunately, it was not as significant as I was expecting. We still don't have the dynamic track feature which was promised, and I'm really excited to check out, because on the Autel EVO 2 Pro, the dynamic tracking was just really terrible. And since we've been promised a much improved dynamic track on this drone, I'm really interested to see how has it improved, and this new algorithm of the drone tracking you, how it will affect the final footage, because so far even the Mavic 3 or even the Skydio 2, which is great at tracking, they don't produce smooth and stable cinematic footage. It's all jittery and bumpy and definitely not smooth. So all my hopes are here in this drone. I don't know if they will be answered, but I hope once the dynamic track is here, it will be great. And finally, there's one more thing which I'm really missing on this drone, and that's lock color profile and 10-bit colors. I've been hearing some rumors that Autel might allow this drone to shoot in 10-bit color via software update. I'm not sure if that's possible. Right now it shoots in 8-bit, which is of course kind of limiting, because it doesn't give you much freedom to push the colors and tweak the footage. Like I said, I don't do that on this drone anyway, but I would have loved to have that option if possible. Now, if I have 10-bit color and lock color profile, that turns this drone from a hobby grade, which is kind of what it is right now, to a more professional drone, which will be a great step for many other people that don't have other drones. I'm lucky to have the Mavic 3 in case I need something a little bit more professional looking, which has a lot more data and information that I can tweak. But if you only have the Lite Plus and you rely on it to capture a very nice footage for you, right now it's a bit limiting. So I would love to see Autel add that to this drone as soon as possible. As for any other intelligent flight modes, I don't really care about them. I only need the tracking feature, which is the one that you can use without actually flying the drone. For the rest, I prefer to fly my drone manually at all times so I can have maximum control. It's just something that I prefer to do. I know what I'm doing, so I prefer to make the drone do what I want from it and not rely on quick shots or master shots or whatever the equivalent of these shots are called here in the Lite Plus. For now though, I just like using this drone for fun, and the footage that I'm getting straight out of the SD card is good enough for me, for YouTube, but I would like to hear back from you guys. Do you think it's good looking? Do you think it's enough? Or it's subpar? Let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to drop a like if you have enjoyed this video, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, and I'll catch you very, very soon in my next video. Ciao!